Very big political story we were following over the weekend. The newly elected ANC leadership in KZN is perceived as being opposed to President Ramaphosa's re-election at the National Elective Conference later in the year, in December to be more correct. KZN Premier Sihle Zikalala, who was seen to be in Ramaphosa's camp, lost the provincial chairperson position to Siboniso Duma. Let's find out what this could mean for the ANC in KZN and perhaps more importantly, what it could mean for the ANC president and the President of our country, Cyril Ramaphosa. There you see political analyst Professor Bheki Mngomezulu joining us this morning. Prof, morning to you. Good to have you on eNCA. The Taliban faction, unpack that for me. What do we mean by that?
No, thank you very much, my brother, for having me. And yes, indeed. First of all, let me start off by congratulating the new leadership in KwaZulu-Natal and also congratulate the ANC for organizing a successful conference, breaking the record in terms of accepting the credentials, something that is unprecedented. So to come to your question, it means a couple of things. One, it means that the RT faction has emerged victorious, as some of us had anticipated. You would recall that when there were regional conferences in KwaZulu-Natal, 9 of the 11 regions were seen to be aligned to the RT faction. So it didn't come as a surprise, therefore, that the majority of the people then felt that Siboniso Duma and his team were the ones that were deserving of this particular leadership positions in the ANC. So it didn't come as a surprise to me.
When we talk about this being either pro-Ramaphosa or pro-Zuma, help me understand in the context of the elective conference later this year, why are we still talking about pro-Zuma faction? Surely it would be pro-someone else in the party that's going to go up against President Ramaphosa. Why do we still refer to it as pro-Zuma? Give me some context.
You know, my brother, truth be told, with all the issues that the former president still has to account to, he still commands enough support in KwaZulu-Natal and also outside of KwaZulu-Natal. So it means that anyone who is vying for a position in December, especially coming from KwaZulu-Natal, doesn't stand a better chance if that person is not seen to be aligned to the RT faction. And there are a number of points we can refer to buttress that assertion. You recall, for instance, that after the regional conferences had been concluded, the leadership in those regional conferences that emerged from those regional conferences saw it necessary to visit the former president at his home in Nkandla, which basically means that they derive inspiration from him, because whenever tough times come, he remains cool. So they normally go to him to get his wisdom as to how they should maneuver this political space. So at the moment, the new leadership has just emerged, but then you will still hear people associating the RT faction with the former president simply because of the influence that he still has, even though he is currently operating from Nkandla, given the ruling that he's on parole. So then it means that he can't move around as he normally does, but he still enjoys support, and therefore that is why the RT faction is associated with him. And then, of course, together with Zandile Gumede, you might have seen that she should have, in fact, won hands down. It's just that she decided to decline because of the step-aside resolution which is currently in force.
How long do you think we're going to still see Premier Sihle Zikalala in his position? Some are suggesting with his ousting as chair, it's going to be a couple of months. He won't even make it to elective conference. What's your take, Prof?
If the new leadership will stand to its words, he might survive, because the new leader, that is Mr. Siboniso Duma and his team, they were saying that they are not there to purge those who they've ousted or those they've followed, in fact, because it's not a matter of ousting as if they were fighting. So the ones, their predecessors, they're saying that they're not going to purge them. If then they stand by what they said, then it means that he's safe. But the reality of the matter is, these are only the leaders, and they didn't put themselves into these positions. They were elected into the positions. So in any possibility, then you may find that those who elected them might put pressure on them and say, you must then change the leadership of the province now that you are holding these seats. You saw this thing happening, for instance, with the former Premier Senzo Mchunu. where people are talking about the two centers of power, which I don't, in fact, understand, because the issue of the two centers of power, for me, does not make sense, because these are members of the same organization and they're implementing the same policies. So whether I'm the chairperson, but I'm not the premier, for me, it shouldn't be an issue, really, because you do communicate, you do meet, you do discuss issues, you implement the same policies. But then the trend has been set, so anything is possible. But from what the leadership is saying, he's safe, at least for now, because they say they are not going to purge anyone and they are going to allow him to finish his term until the election in 2024.
Well, let's talk about elections coming up later in the year. Last question to you, Prof. It seems the ANC and KZN, as we've been reporting, keeping their cards very close to their chest. They're not nominating anyone for ANC president. Do you see the ANC and KZN being the kingmakers in the ANC presidency later in the year at elective conference? Do you think Ramaphosa could be in a lot of trouble for the presidency of the party?
Given what has transpired thus far, the answer is an emphatic yes. Because, in fact, let us be honest, had it not been for Siboniso Duma, the president would have struggled to present his address at this particular conference in KZN. Because before the president came, there were talks that there were people who were going to protest against him. And then the song that dominated the conference was the one saying, "Wenzeni uZuma? What has Zuma done?" That in itself tells you that there are people who are not happy in the manner in which the former president has been treated, and therefore they are in full support of the RT faction. So which means then going to the December conference, KZN will be wanting to see the current president replaced. And then to your earlier comment about KZN being or keeping the ace card close to their chest in terms of indicating who they will be fielding as the presidential candidate. I think they were waiting for this conference to conclude. Now that it has been concluded, then we'll start hearing names coming up. Of course, Dr. Cyril Ramaphosa will definitely be one of those. If he doesn't make it, you can call me and ask me what happened. But as things stand right now, I can almost put my neck on the block and say the name of Dr. Cyril Ramaphosa will start surfacing now.
You knew I was going to ask you to give me a name, didn't you, Prof? But I appreciate it, as always. You knew I was going to go there. You beat me to the punch. I appreciate it. And I'm sure we will call you. We'll see what happens with Dr. Zweli Mkhize. I'm going to phone you back either way. I appreciate your time, as always, Prof. Thank you very much. Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, political analyst, joining us here. ANC elective conference down in KZN. Not long to go till the big boys go head-to-head at the ANC elective conference in December. That countdown has begun.